Hey guys, what is up? It is me, Pagey, here once again with another video on Arrow Season 8. So the day this video comes out, it should be hopefully 2 weeks exactly until Season 8, or the final season of Arrow kicks off, and we begin processing what we're going to do without it when it officially comes to an end early next year, just after the Crisis event wraps up. But we do have a decent amount to go over in this video, so yeah, and that is because we're going through an interview that has recently come out from tvline.com with your boy, Stephen Amell. Now, there is a decent amount of questions and answers to go over that should get us all excited to, for what's to come in Arrow as well as Crisis. But, also just raise our curiosity levels about the final season of Arrow as well, which, as I said, is only 2 weeks away from now. But of course, throughout the video, be sure to leave all of your various opinions and thoughts and all that in the comments section down below, and what gets you the most interested, the most interested here from all these questions. And of course, if you're going to enjoy the video and you're just looking forward to Arrow's final season, why not drop a like on the video? So yeah, we'll just go through the questions, go over Stephen's answers, then break down things if there's anything to break down. So let's get to it. For starters, can you clarify when you thought that you'd be done with Arrow after Season 7 and when you decided, to come back for 10 more episodes? I decided midway through Season 6, basically over the Christmas break, that it was time to be done, and I broached that subject with Arrowverse overlord Greg Berlanti. He and I talked for about a month before he formally notified CW President Mark Pedowitz and WBTV President Peter Roth, because he was like, think about this a lot, let's talk about it, because once I kick it up the chain, once the ball starts rolling, ... So I thought about it then. I assumed that the series was going to end at the end of 7, but Greg's smarter than me, and he had a really good idea about a limited run in Season 8. So we'd already heard that, when Stephen had the thought where it was time to wrap it up and stuff like that. So we sort of heard similar things to this, but this just goes into a bit more detail, I guess, in regards to actual quotes that went down. Obviously, if this should... Is there people still out there that thinks that Arrow was cancelled? Because I still see it on Twitter. I roll my eyes, and these are people with Stephen Amell's Green Arrow in their profile picture, and they said Arrow was cancelled. Arrow wasn't cancelled. It electively ended. It wasn't cancelled. Anyway, let's move on. So at the time that you filmed Elseworlds, when you saw that end card promising Crisis on Infinite Earths, did you know you would be back for the 10 episodes? Oh, yeah. I knew that I was going to be back for 10 episodes of Season 8 before we started Season 7. So around this, I don't know, because I've always said this, that Season 7 could have ended the way it wanted to, but I think us fans have always looked back at Season 5, they could have ended the show at Season 5 if they wanted to. There was still room to move forward if they wanted to as well. Season 7 still offered that as well, because even the end scene of Season 7 almost feels like a series finale. It's a bit odd, but I think Season 8's going to be one of the best seasons of Arrow, just because they can really just go, I guess, off the chain, just go, off the normal path, if you want to call it. So yeah, I am looking forward to seeing what they do here, because I think it is going to be quite impressive. Was Emily Bett Rickards' decision to leave at the end of Season 7 informed by your own thinking at the time? Nope. Emily was a guest star in Season 1, and then she signed a 6-year contract that ran through Season 7. She nailed it, and then she was done. So I think this is actually the first time we've actually heard these numbers, because there was talks about why did Emily leave at the end of Season 7 when there's only 10 episodes left in Season 8? Why wouldn't she just see this out? Well, that explains it there. She was only a guest star. If people don't remember, in Season 1, Felicity Smoke wasn't a real plan for the showrunners and the people on the show. She was meant to be a guest star, and was it one of the first handful of episodes, episode 3, was it? Or episode 2, or somewhere in that first handful of episodes. But then there was such a like to the character that they kept her on, and then she became, the female lead eventually in later seasons. So we actually have a number here that she signed a 6-year contract that ran through till the end of Season 7, starting in Season 2. So you have Season 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, then finally 7. I'd assume that she's going to appear in one more episode, but she's not contractually obligated to be in the season. So we have some numbers to go off, I guess. She wasn't thinking, well, Stephen has probably gone anyway at the end of Season 7, at the end of 7, so... No, frankly, from my perspective, I think that's meant to say perspective, I really would have preferred that she stayed until the end, but from a professional standpoint, as one of her best friends, I get it. So we sort of already went over an answer that sort of relates back to that. I've said this to everybody over the years, to Mark Pedowitz, to Peter Roth. You've been a tremendous ambassador for this show. You know how to tease what's ahead without giving things away. Like, Oliver does a thing 12 seconds into episode 7 that will cause a reaction from someone. But you know that I give out spoilers all the time. I just don't tell people that they're spoilers. Like, I say things that are I can't speak English today. I can't speak English. This is ridiculous. Definitive. Was that right? Definitive? I spoke English. Congratulations to me. If you don't leave a like on the video after that, then who knows what's going to happen. Anyway, definitive. Did I say it right? Anyway, plot points, and it just goes over people's heads. I love it. It's my favorite thing. So yeah, Steven does this all the time, and he's mentioned this like a handful of times in the past as well, where he's like, I literally told you what was going to happen at the end of the episode, or at the end of the season, or in this specific point in the season or the episode. You just thought I was joking and didn't take it seriously. Like, there's examples of it. I think sometimes they're mostly in live streams, but they have been in like tweets and stuff like that. And I guess in some cases that I can't recall, that there might have been in interviews as well. This is a thing for those that are just like wondering if it is actually true. Like, Steven does this. You also can quote chapter and verse when arguing a point, like such and such happened in the second scene of the third act of 518, and that's why Oliver shouldn't be saying this now. Right. So I get a reputation sometimes as being a little demonstrative on set. That's not what it is. It's just, if you're going to come to me for an idea, you better know exactly what you're effing talking about, because if it doesn't add up, I'll have an issue with it. Was that me that answered the question? Because that's like me talking about the show when something doesn't make sense or it doesn't add up to something in the past. Someone stole my answer. Anyway, let's move on. Being such an ambassador for the Arrowverse, how does it feel to look at what's being left behind? 4 or 5 plus shows. My hope is that I have played a small part in the way that Grant Gustin sets the tone on his show, and the way that Melissa Benoist sets the tone on her show, and the way that Katie Lott sets the tone on her show, and maybe the way that Ruby Rose will set the tone on her show, Batwoman. I hope that I played a small part in that, or maybe not. Maybe they looked at what I did and did the opposite. Look, it's going to be called the Arrowverse from going forward. It's not going to change to the Flashverse or the Superverse or the versa. It's going to stay the Arrowverse because it rolls off the tongue nicely, Arrowverse. But, you know, Arrow started it off, and we'll always remember that. You know, Barry Allen first appeared on Arrow. You know, spun off, might I say, that's correct English, spun off into Flash and all of that. So it'll stay the Arrowverse. Arrow's legacy will always remain there. Obviously, I have some issues about where they're going with the legacy of Arrow, to be completely honest, but with a certain spin-off. But look, I'm sure the events and like the things that happened on Arrow or throughout the time of Arrow will always be referenced in the future seasons of the show, and whatever comes forward that with stuff related to Arrow. What sort of growth is left for Oliver over these 10 episodes? We're going to try to develop a sense of humor for him in the nick of time. Now, the irony of this is that like Oliver's going to be developing this sense of humor, which is, it's with the Green Arrow. Like, Green Arrow isn't like a wisecracking pun sort of character, but he does have a sense of humor, which has been a complaint in regards to being consistent with the character of Oliver Queen, since season 1, I guess. Like, maybe not season 1 because he was going through a lot of crap, but even in seasons after that, we've seen times, like hints of it, but the writing's never really pushed it forward. But the irony of it is that like the world is coming to an end. Oliver knows he's going to die, and then all of a sudden he starts having that sense of humor just chime up. So I think that's quite ironic. But anyway, what's driving him right now? 2 things. 1, he believes the Monitor because Kara and Barry were going to die, and the Monitor gave him an alternative. And secondly, he believes Felicity when she says, "Whatever happens, I'll find you." He believes her. There's a great exchange in this season's episode 2 between himself and Rila Fukushima, who plays Tatsu Yamashiro, where she says, "You're being driven by anger," and he goes, "I'm not angry," because he's not. He's simply doing what has to be done. In a lot of ways, he was driven by anger in those earlier seasons. Not so much this year. He's just making good on the deal he made. He made a deal. He saved Barry, saved Kara. I'm bummed out that he lied to Barry about making a deal. So that is true. Like, Oliver's basically just sticking to what he's... Oliver's always been a loyal type of character, so it makes sense that he would stick to this deal and just go forward and do what's required of him. So yeah, that makes sense that is completely driving him, and it isn't like some thing we saw in previous seasons where like it was a different motive driven by something in the past that brought it a certain emotion in Oliver. It's completely different. It's completely different this time around, which is going to be really interesting to see go down on in season 8. What sort of conflicts will Oliver get into on a weekly basis during this final run? The producers at TCA were talking about humongous events in each episode. Well, yeah, that'd be the first time a showrunner had said it's huge. Oliver is doing the Monitor's bidding. Both the first and the second episode are based around a specific task that the Monitor has given him. In both episodes, he has to retrieve something. So we sort of get a hint of that in the trailer, that there might be like some sort of like retrieval process, might I say, in certain episodes. I think even in the episode where we see Thea with Talia al Ghul, it looks like they're retrieving something. Not too sure. It looks like they're maybe looking for the last Lazarus pit or some sort of like ancient artifact or something. In regards to episode 1 and 2, those are specific throwbacks to season 1 and season 3. So maybe it's like a certain like item that resonates from season 1, or even specifically the pilot episode that Oliver has to get. And then episode 2, it's something from season 3. So yeah, it could be something around that, but interested to see what they do. And lastly, what is one thing that to this day you can't believe you got to do during your time on Arrow? Meet Superman. You know, it was scripted in the crossover that when Oliver sees Clark for this first time, he puffs out his chest. It was scripted. Barry goes to Oliver, "Are you puffing out your chest?" And Oliver scoffs, "No." But that's not what I said. Barry goes, "Are you puffing out your chest?" And I go, "Yes." I was thinking that they were going come from behind Village and say, "Just give us one where you're saying no." And I was prepared to tell them to F off, but no, that was cool. So I think we can all relate to that. When we started watching, if you were watching Arrow back in season 1 like the OGs, I will raise my hand. I was one of those. Couldn't wait for it. Not going to lie, did watch the leaked pilot that came from Comic-Con or around Comic-Con a couple of months before the actual show started. I'll raise my hand and say I did do that. But I don't think any of us thought we were going to go down this route where we were eventually going to get, let alone the Flash, but also like Superman, Supergirl, Batwoman. Now we're getting like Batman, Smallville Superman's coming back. All these ridiculous characters are now coming in for Crisis. I don't think any of us thought that was actually going to happen when we started watching episode 1 of Arrow season 1. It's insane. But yeah, guys, that's the end of the video. If you enjoyed the video, it would be awesome if you could drop a like on it to show support. Let me know in the comment section down below what caught your eye from this interview, what gets you excited from what Steven talks about from this interview for the final season of Arrow. And of course, if you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe, and I'll catch you guys later. Goodbye.